Same. I've done it. It's like you work so hard on one thing, and then like you said, you see like this other thing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh hey, I can do that, and then you totally drop what you're working on, and you put all the time and effort in to go chase down something else, and then a little while later, there's another thing. So you really just are going in circles, getting nothing accomplished, and you
Yeah.
could have been many times a lot further along if you would have just stuck with your original thing.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Ability Podcast. I am your host, Nick Yerhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. This episode of the Infinite Abilities Podcast is brought to you by the one and only Infinite Toolbox, where just like all other toolboxes, we will get the job done, guaranteed. Whether you're an entrepreneur looking to save time, boost revenue, or automate your processes, Infinite Toolbox has got you covered. With powerful tools designed to drive leads, expand your reach, and gain your industry secrets, we help you work smarter, not harder. Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Visit us at infinitetoolbox.com. That's infinitetoolbox.com, and discover how infinite your potential really is. All right, so today we have Mike, and this guy's story is truly amazing, and he's doing a lot of work to help a lot of people. So I'm truly thankful that Mike is here today, and well, let's get going. So Mike, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So yeah, my name's Mike Van Pelt. A lot of people call me MVP because, believe it or not, that's those are my initials. And I always laugh about it because I'd love to sit here and tell you that my parents knew that, but they didn't. My two younger brothers are named Mark and Matt, so we're all MVPs, and basically it's just biblical. It's really all it is.
That's awesome.
Mike, Matt, Mark and Matt. So we're all biblical, but so most people know me as MVP, or they call me that. And yeah, so I founded True Man Life Coaching. So I'm a Christian men's life coach. So I really like working with men because I'll share a little bit more about my story and why that is the case. And so along with that, we started the podcast, True Man Podcast. And as you know, having your own podcast, a podcast is just a great medium for guys to listen. And the whole point of the podcast really is to help men, better fathers, better dads, better husbands, just overall better men. And so that's really the whole premise of the podcast. And of course, I like to play guinea pig on the podcast and talk about all the mistakes I made in order to get to where I'm at today. But the podcast has been a pretty amazing thing. And then, of course, working on completing a book, True Man, True Ways, a roadmap of discovery to the masculine heart, where basically I talk about what I've learned about, really becoming successful and creating the right mindset in order to win in life. And, most of it's pretty basic, I got to say, but the reason that people find themselves in the predicament they're in a lot of the time is because they're not doing the basic things like goal setting, just something as simple as goal setting. But so that's the whole True Man brand thing is really where I've created my livelihood. And then I've got a wonderful little side company that is really no longer a side company. That is really coming to the forefront, and we're going to help people be able to build their own business there as well. So I'm looking for people that want to take back control of their life and learn great leadership skills and create wealth in their life. If you're bound by corporate America and they're sucking the life out of you, which they do.
Yep, they do.
And I got something for you. And no, it's not multi-level marketing, because I know everybody went in their head. They're like, hey, MLM. No, it ain't. Yep. No. Great organization called Givers University, and we are going to really change the world and create giving nation, which is lacking right now. But yeah, I got a lot going on, dude.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, that's good. You know, we as entrepreneurs, it's better the more stuff we have going on. I know that firsthand. It's like, if you have nothing to do, you're just wasting your life away. And you feel it too. You feel depressed and down, and like you don't have a reason to get up in the morning.
100%. Now I will say this, and I think this is important, Nick, if you don't mind me mentioning this. One of the things that's really I've taken out of my language is a lot of people say, well, like I'm really busy. I'm really busy. Yeah. This whole idea around busyness. Mm-hmm. I gotta say, I don't do business with anybody that's busy. And if somebody, says to me that I'm busy, I usually start asking them a lot of questions, because busyness is not good. Mm-hmm. You need to be productive.
Yeah,
productive.
I thought that's where you're going.
Yeah, productive. Yep. And so you need to be using a calendar. You need to be maybe blocking time. There is I've found that people that are busy are not successful because they're doing 20 things at once, and their hair's on fire and they're not getting anything done. Yep. And so one of the things I think I talk a lot about with guys is, how can you be more productive? How can you be more present with your calendar so that your calendar doesn't control you? You control your calendar. And I think that that's critically important, especially in the entrepreneur world, because I've been guilty of this. I don't know about you, Nick, if you've been guilty of this, but that next shiny object comes at you and all of a sudden, what? That can change everything. And you go running to it. Yeah. You go running to it because you don't know your why, or you don't know your purpose. And you're like, oh man, that could change everything. And, sometimes you got to pump the brake a little bit and use some discernment on that. And I've had to learn that the hard way. So I'm not pointing fingers.
Same. I've done it. It's like you work so hard on one thing, and then, like you said, you see like this other thing. You're like, oh hey, I can do that. And then you totally drop what you're working on, and you put all the time and effort in to go chase on something else. And then a little while later, there's another thing. So you really just are going in circles, getting nothing accomplished. And you could have been many times a lot further along if you would have just stuck with your original thing, kept working on it, and just get it done.
I think where that becomes important, and this is what I talk a lot about with guys too, we're fix-it guy. I mean, guys are like fix-it people. Like they think we can fix everything, and fixing things is not always good. And it really, you're in your head if you're fixing things. And I think the whole goal, and this is what guys need to do work on, is I commonly say, I help guys get out of their head and into their heart. So, in order to make good business decisions, Nick, as you know, you can't overthink things. How are you feeling? How is the person that's saying they can help me right now? Are they saying the right things? Am I feeling it in my heart, in my gut? How is this person treating me? Are they telling me? Because here's what's happened to me a lot. People tell me everything I'm doing wrong. And what's funny about that is everybody has an opinion on it. So if I listen to all that, well, I mean, I'm never going to be any good at anything. And so, and I've gone both ways on this, man. I now have some people around me. It's a small window. It's about 4 or 5 people. And if I have to go outside that window, I check in with those 4 or 5 people. Here's what I'm hearing. Here's the scuttlebutt on the street. What do you think about that? And I think as entrepreneurs, one of the more important things that we can do, and if it's a men's coach, it's a men's coach. If it's a business coach or a mentor or something, you have to have a check-in buddy, man. You got to have a wingman, because if not, you'll jump at everything. And sometimes you need to be able to go back to people and say, I'm kind of thinking this way, but I don't know. What do you think? And then work your way through it and really discern what's going on and think through it with your heart. And that's true of relationships too, not just business. And so I talk a lot about, hey, let's pump the brake. Let's pause for a second, because we live in a world where everybody wants everything now. And I can tell you,
that's for sure,
it doesn't work that way most of the time.
No.
The only time something works now is if you're in the fast food line.
Yeah.
And so we have to be careful with this. And I call it this fast food culture that we're in, that everything that you get happens now. You get immediate, everybody's looking for that immediate gratification, that dopamine hit that hits your brain and fixes everything. And I want to tell you so badly that works. It just, most of the time, no.
And like, I know what you're talking about. I've tried so many things in my business thinking I'm going to be like a overnight success. It doesn't work like that. So now I'm playing the long game. Like, I'm doing things that are setting up my future, not the now. Like, let's just keep building the brand, keep getting out there in front of more people, keep networking, just keep building that, because then over time, the success will come, and success looks different for all of us. So it's just, do what you want, do what feels right to you, help people, and then you will be rewarded at some point.
I agree.
My mentor at Grant Cardone, he says, yeah, I was an overnight success, and it took 25 years. So it's like, that's his little joke. He's like, yep, my overnight success was 25 years. So it's like, people gotta keep that in mind, and that goes along with, like, when you want to give up. When you really feel like giving up on your business or anything, that's when you should push even harder and not give up.
Yeah, and I think I'll tell a little bit about my personal story, because I think it's along that lines.
It is.
I really spent a good portion of my career in sales, and really the funny part about that was, when I was young, people would say, "Man, you're a pretty good talker. You should be in sales." Interestingly enough, what I now know is sales doesn't really have anything to do with talking, but it has a heck of a lot to do with listening. And so, but it's funny what you hear, right? So all of a sudden, if I'm talking, that makes me a good salesperson, and it really didn't at all. But what's interesting about that was that as I began to grow into my career, I really wasn't doing anything that I was passionate about. And this goes back to the heart. I wasn't doing anything that I was passionate about. I was just doing, right? All I cared about was, they told me to go hit a quota, and I got to go hit it, or they're going to fire me. And I've been on the short end of that stick, a number of times. But, it really wasn't until we had young kids, and my wife had been a very successful professional, and I was doing some stuff in the insurance and financial services market. And I went to a training, leadership development, and I always had an aptitude for leadership. I wanted to know what made a CEO tick, what made the great coaches of our today winners. Why, I always loved all my teachers. I was always, wanted to be the guy in the front of the room. And so I went through this leadership development course, and I said, man, hon, I don't know what it is I want to do, but I want more of that. I want more of that. And she said, and I was really unhappy with what I was doing. And she said, Mike, I'm okay. Why don't you be a stay-at-home dad and take care of the kids? We're fine. Our kids were really young at the time. You take care of the kids, figure out what you want to do. And I worked with a career coach. I'm really big on working with coaches. I drink my own Kool-Aid, so to speak.
Yep.
And I went back and I realized that I was kind of a hypocrite. I was talking with my kids about how important school was going to be for them, and I hadn't completed mine. And I went back, I got my undergraduate degree. And during that time frame that I was a stay-at-home dad and working on that, I was working with a lot of nonprofits and I was getting heavily involved in my church. And I realized I loved it. I loved that grassroots effort of being boots on the ground and making an impact on people's lives in the nonprofit arena. And I thought, man, this is really where it's at for me. And I think I'd make a great executive director. So what do the executive directors have that I don't have? I need to figure that out. And I went back and I got my master's degree. I got a couple of certificates to help me in the nonprofit arena. And I went out, tried to find a job. And crickets, nothing. And people would say to me, we don't even know what to do with you. I mean, I went from not having enough to now all of a sudden I'm overly educated and and I mean, they had every excuse. The problem was when all that happened, I began to internalize the no's. And my attitude just kind of crumbled. I lost my identity because as men, we typically, a couple things happen. When you meet somebody, you want to know their name. And then you want to know what they do. And then you identify based on what they do, right? I mean, everybody does this. It's just natural human. And I remember being at a party with my wife and somebody came up to me and said, what do you do? And because people would hear me talking or they'd meet me or they'd see me in a nice suit and they'd think, well, this guy's successful, right? And, I remember this guy asking me, what do you do? And I remember just standing there because at that point I was so hurt by all the no's that I was getting that I couldn't say anything. And my wife jumped in there and I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is a real problem. I'm lost. I'm just lost. And I really took some time to think about it. And I decided, well, you know what? I've got the knowledge, skills, and ability. The only person stopping me is me. And I thought, well, I'm going to do some business consulting. And I started down that path. And I met a guy at a networking event. And we decided, hey, well, let's start our own networking event. And it turned into our men's small group. And it's in that men's small group that my life began to change. Now, I'd always been a Christian, but I didn't know intimacy with Christ. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know. And I went to a retreat one weekend, a men's retreat with 300 guys. And the camp director got up in front and said, we're going to play 3 worship songs today. And I want you to hear these songs as if God is singing them to you. And I played a Josh Groban song called You Are Loved. And in that moment, I heard God say to me, I want an intimate relationship with you. You are my beloved son. And my world changed. I mean, in that moment, I almost fell to the ground. And then I looked around and I'm like, where do all these guys go when this is over? Like, what do they do? What if they just had an experience like I did? Where do they go? What do they do? And I really started thinking about that. And the funny part of it is I had a game plan heading into 2020. It's just that COVID had a bigger game plan than I did. And the world kind of shut down. My wife, her position was eliminated. And then we had to pick up and move. I'm just outside of Atlanta, Georgia now. Now everything worked out. Here I am talking to you. We got the podcast started, got the coaching going, and ultimately we figured it out. But there were some pretty low moments in there. But what has happened to me over the last 5.5 years is that relationship shift with that knowing that Jesus really has me and that everything's going to be okay and that I can take my hand off the steering wheel a little bit and trust that he's got this. My world shifted. Everything changed. I went from not being able to even say what I was to being, 3-time international best-selling author. I got my own personal book coming out. I got a podcast going on. I'm coaching, and I've got a couple of businesses now. And, when somebody says to me, well, what happened outside of you doing the work and taking a hard look in the mirror? Yeah, all that happened. But my relationship with Christ changed. And I realized that I can do a lot of things, but I can't do anything without him. And it really is the pivotal thing that changed everything for me and got me to, where I am today. And, I'm grateful for that. And that's why I call myself a Christian men's coach, because truthfully, I don't know how we talk about goals and vision and purpose. I just see God in all of it, And so, that's just how I identify it. And it feels so good to be able to identify with that and to be able to walk other guys through that, many of which that I see are struggling with something similar, or, we have a lot in common. I'll just say.
And I gotta say, I resonate with that so much, because for me, I grew up when I was a kid, I went to church. But then as I got older, I stopped going for a while until about, 2 years ago now? I started going again. And, I had already been on my self-improvement journey. I had already been following, the greats like Greg Cardone and, hearing the language of success and what it takes and all that. Well, then, when I started to go to church, I was hearing the same thing in church. I was like, wow, this is remarkable. And, that was like my calling, I guess, was just, I just kept going to church, kept going, and then I got baptized, last February again, and, I just keep going, keep studying, because it's like incredible how everything aligns, with success, relationships. All the answers are in the Bible. They're all there.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
So
it's 100% true. And everything I do, I try to check in with Scripture. Where does that land in Scripture? So in other words, if I'm talking about, and I have this on my website, if I'm talking about identity or truth or vision or purpose or confidence or shame or anger, I just don't rattle those things off for the sake of rattling them off. I go back into the Bible and say, okay, what does Scripture say about this? What can I learn about these things that is happening in the Bible? And, sometimes the Bible doesn't necessarily mention a specific word, but more times than not, it circles back to something very, very similar that we really have to pay attention to. And it's amazing to me. I'll just give you a couple of really good words. Patience and perseverance are in the Bible all over the place. But like I was saying earlier, very few of us have patience or perseverance at this point. We want an answer, and we want it now. And God's will does not work that way. Typically. And, my life experiences. So with Givers University, here's what's interesting. At the time we're recording this, I'm getting ready to go out of town. I'm going to be in front of 100 people this weekend. I know people will go, well, it's not 100,000. The point is, I'm going to be in front of a group of people this week. From the time I was very young, I always saw myself on stage or being in front of people. I don't know. There was just a vision that was there. Why? I don't, And so in 1985, I've got a letter. I keep it right here on my desk. In 1985, I was in a general business class at my high school, and the teacher had us we had to write a paper on what we wanted to do when we grew up. And I wrote to several college basketball coaches, and I said, what's it going to take? What do you have to do to be a college basketball coach? That's all I ever wanted to do. And when I went to college, I went to a Division I school, and I was a manager on the basketball team. I went to 3 NCAA tournaments, won 3 conference championships. I know what it takes. Now, I didn't graduate from there. I left there. Sometimes you take the curvy road rather than the straight road, right?
Yep.
But the point of it is that in 1985, I wrote letters to coaches asking them what it took to be a coach. Now, any good college basketball coach will tell you, oh, yeah, we X and O. Yeah, we draw up plays. Yeah, I teach my guys defense. But what they really do is teach them about life. They talk to them about life. Now, what's funny is now I'm in a leadership position. I'm not only coaching, I'm in a leadership position. But the funny part of it is, to get to where I'm in now, I look back over my life and I'm like, holy cow. The good Lord was putting out little breadcrumbs along the way. Now I see the path. And there were times on that path where I cursed him. I was angry at him. I didn't understand. But I just kept doing the work. I just kept connecting with people. And when I took my hands off the wheel and said, man, I can't do this anymore, it's on you. You lead me. The minute I did that, now I'm like, I see the path. I see it. And that's just my story. But I talk to a lot of other people and I hear very similar stories.
Same here.
And so I like to think a lot of what I do is just mentor people, and help provide them the shortcut they're looking for. There is a straighter path. I've been on some curvy, windy roads.
Me too.
But if I can help somebody take a straighter road, man, that makes my day.
Yep. Same here. That's why we do what we do. It's just to help guide people. And, as our coaches, it's like we don't have to know it all. We just need to be a couple steps ahead of our clients. We can learn with them. That's okay. And I don't know about you, but when I work with my clients, I learned a lot from them. So it just helps me even more. And it helps me help them more. It's really, really awesome.
I agree. One of the collaborative books that I did, I got to write a chapter in, was a book called Cracking the Rich Code with Jim Britt. Kevin Harrington of Shark Tank does that book in collaborative effort. And I wrote a chapter on the power of asking for help, which really is also about asking questions in so many different ways. But one of the reasons I wrote that book was that chapter was when I was 6 years old, which it was 1976. So that was fairly unusual. I mean, nowadays kids go into classes pretty young. They figure it out, it seems like. But back then, that was fairly unusual. And I had a lazy eye, I had astigmatism. So that's when your eyes kind of go cross-eyed. The muscles haven't developed in one or both your eyes, and they kind of go cross-eyed. And so I started wearing glasses in 1976. And I was a little bit introverted. And an interesting thing happened. As you might imagine, there was a few, you get a little bullied, right? Sometimes, hey, four eyes, right? I mean, you're gonna get a little of that. But here's an interesting thing that happened to me. And I guess it's just the way I internalize things. I don't know. I mean, it was like some people would say to me, man, look, you got glasses. You're a smart looking kid. You must be smart. You wear glasses. Now that's a stereotype too.
Yeah.
So here's what happened. I stopped asking questions because you can't ask questions if you wear glasses and everybody thinks you're smart. And since I was introverted, it was a very easy thing for me to do. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, what happens when you're young and you start doing that, it becomes a habit. Mm-hmm. And that habit just follows you along. Mm-hmm. And so there were many, many years there, and I didn't realize this until I got into my adulthood, where I didn't need to ask questions. I was going to take the world on by myself. Mm-hmm. And when you don't ask questions, you fall behind. Mm-hmm. Questions come from a place of curiosity, and we should always be curious. I mean, that is a great place to be in. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I found is that it's a common thing for men to not ask questions because we wouldn't want to be found out that we didn't know the answer, right? That would be like, a shock to our masculine system, But what I think there is, I know there is that there's tremendous power in asking questions, tremendous power. Yeah. And you can't be successful if you don't ask questions, not only of other people, but of yourself. Mm-hmm. Something as simple as, why do I get angry when X, Y, and Z happens? Mm-hmm. That's a good thing to explore. Yeah. Yep. And so there's tremendous power in asking people for help and asking questions. Help, and you probably, maybe you're the same. As a coach, I've had, and this is kind of over the years, I've had a podcast coach. I hired a podcast coach to help me. Mm-hmm. I've had a golf coach. I've had a spiritual coach. I've had a business coach. Mm-hmm. I've had coaches in other areas of my life. And I've got a doctor right now who I really consider my health coach. Over the last year, in fact, right on a year, as a matter of fact, I've lost 25 pounds. And I'm really in some of the best health that I've been in, probably in prior to getting married. And there are a number of reasons why I went down that road. And there's certain things that I'm doing to help me with that. But that was something that I wanted to take on because, and you know this, Nick, because you get up in front of people. Takes a lot of energy. It takes, people buy into the passion. They buy into the enthusiasm. And, I'm a pretty enthusiastic person, and it requires a lot of energy. And I love that energy. And, I felt like, I'm 54 now, that, in my middle 50s, I was starting to slip a little bit, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And so, I've done a lot of work in it, but I got to say, asking for help from my doctor and asking the questions helped me do that. And I think that's something that we need to be cognizant of, not just as entrepreneurs. Yes, that's very important, but just as people in general, we need to be, it's good to be curious.
Yep. I definitely agree with that. It is good to be curious and ask questions. It will help you a lot. So, how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can always go to my website, truemanlifecoaching.com. And I encourage people to reach out to me. My email is pretty simple, Mike@truemanlifecoaching.com. You can find my podcast on the website, blog, all that fun stuff. And I gotta say, and I make this offer to a lot of people. I wish more people would take me up on it, truthfully. If there's something going on in your life, put your shame aside, put your fear aside. I offer everybody a free initial call. Just reach out to me. You know, we're going to be doing some group stuff in the future. Probably in 2025, I'm going to start doing some more group stuff because I think that men really learn from each other in a great way. And we'll probably do that online and do some with the maybe do something that coincides with the book launch in the spring of 2025. But and you know, the book's out there on my website too for pre-sale. True Man, True Ways, a Roadmap of Discovery to the Masculine Heart. So, and I'm really excited about that. I think that's going to launch some opportunities for me to get out and do some more speaking and really connecting with men. And here's the key to all this: starting the conversations. You know, all these little inch deep conversations you have, are they doing you any good? No. I mean, we could talk sports all day. I could talk sports all day. I'll talk your ear off about sports if you want to talk about sports. But if you really want to dig into the nitty gritty, you know, why are my relationships failing? Why don't I have a great relationship with my kids? Why don't I have a great relationship with my wife? Why don't I like me? You know, those are the things that I like to dig into. And here's the thing. Here's the thing, Nick. A lot of us think that it's just our problem. And most people would be surprised to find out that somebody else has experienced something very, very similar. So you're not alone. And that's an important thing, because when we feel alone, we isolate ourselves and then we don't take action on ourselves. It's a bad combination and I don't recommend it. So, anyway, I said a lot to say, hey, if you'd like somebody to talk with about this, you know, I offer a free initial consultation, and just reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then I got one more question for you. And that is, my slogan is, your abilities are infinite. Well, what does that mean to you?
Your abilities are infamous?
Infinite.
Infinite.
Yeah.
It means that you could do anything that you set your mind to. You're limitless in what you want to dream about and what you can do. And it's just a matter of taking action. And it's as simple as this. That is a simple decision you make, to be in action and to move forward and to push away your fears and doubts and the things that other people are saying, because some of those people don't want to see you successful. So don't listen to those people. Get around givers and not takers, and get around people that are like-minded, that want to help you succeed.
Yep. I think that is key. Get around people that are like-minded. Yep.
100%.
I agree. All right, Mike, this was really great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nick. Enjoyed it.
If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me here, the Nick Yerhart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors. So let's just get it out there by word of mouth, help more people. All right, everyone. Remember, your abilities are infinite.